Please be seated. Can I remind members to switch off their mobile phones, please? And also, it is quite warm in here, so please feel free, gentlemen and ladies, to please remove your jackets if you so wish. The first agenda item on the council summons is to receive apologies for absence. In advance of the meeting, apologies have been received from councillors Shah, Ahmed, Bings and Owen. I have also been informed that councillors Garbutt and Kitchen may need to leave the meeting before its conclusion. Are there any further apologies to be noted? Councillor Swift?
Councillor Mitchell, very late returned from holiday in Cyprus.
Thank you. Councillor Farmer?
Councillor Hogan was going to be late to that house too.
Thank you.
Not you don't know.
Councillor Henry?
Councillor Gray, Madam.
Thank you. There are no matters under consideration today dealing with exempt information, so we will move on to disclosures of interest in matters under consideration. Will members declaring an interest please identify themselves and their interest clearly and complete the usual yellow form before the end of the meeting. Firstly, are there any disclosable pecuniary interests to be declared? No. Are there any other interests to be declared? Thank you. Agenda item 4 is to receive and confirm the minutes of the June Council meeting. Are these minutes moved?
Move the minutes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are the minutes seconded?
Second the minutes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All in favour? That is carried. Agenda item 5 is to deal with such announcements as I may decide to lay before Council. Since our last meeting, I am pleased to report that there's mighty Aphrodite vote. Just in case nobody knew, it won. The Dragon Boat Race Challenge at Puppy's Country Park, raising a terrific amount of money for Andy's Mantle. A heartfelt thank you to everyone who has supported me in this. Many friends and colleagues, including some from within this chamber, who spent the day rowing their hearts out, gathering sponsorship money and making financial and gift donations. A donor has come forward and pledged to double all the monies we raised on that day. Many thanks also to everyone who supported my Mayor's civic parade and service. We have had a busy few weeks attending civic services, parades and galas in Normanton, Featherstone and Morley. It was an honour to witness beating the streets at Yorkshire Showground and to also attend a service at Leeds Minster on Layer Reef as we remembered all those who lost their lives at the Battle of Blakeney Ridge in 1918. A fun time was had at the 75th anniversary of the NHS at Pinfields Hospital, and I was delighted to be asked to open this year's Pontefract Licorice Festival. I have also been delighted to welcome new businesses and a new care home to the district. Finally, looking forward a little, my sponsored charity abseil will be taking place on Saturday, 14th of October at Wakefield Cathedral. Surprisingly, places are going fast, and if this is something that you can support me in, please contact Nina or Dave, who will issue you with a sponsorship form and further guidance. Our donor has also pledged to double all the sponsorship money we raise at this event too. So I feel really humble and privileged that they've done that. There are no communications from the Chief Executive to the meeting today. We will now move on to agenda item 6, which is the Leader's Report. Once the Leader has presented her report, she will receive comments or answer any questions from members on the matters raised in her report. Councillor Jeffrey?
Madam, I've got a point of order.
Which standing order is your point of order on,
Just in
please?
regards to discrimination, I'd like to ask why this chamber is discriminating against
That is not a point.
ethnic minorities. It's in the way this meeting is being run. Can I ask
Councillor
what-
Akbar.
I've got a point in regards to the running of this meeting in regards to discrimination, if you would hear it.
Point of order needs to relate to a breach of the procedure rules or a breach of the law.
Well, I find that you're discriminating against brown ethnic minorities, and I'd like to know why. And who's made that order for it to happen? I'll say why. Since when do we have security in these chambers for meetings? And secondly, there was 3 white British people sat here since 20 to 2, but the taxi drivers, the ethnic minorities, were not allowed entry until 5:30. I heard that from the security officers myself. Why did that happen, and what's the reason for it? I think it's a fair point to make.
Members of the public, this is not a public meeting. This is a meeting of the council. Members of the public are free to attend, and they may observe and they can film without using flash photography or the flashlight. But you are not able to comment within this meeting today.
Madam Mayor, in relation to the point of order, this meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Local Government Act of 1972. That requires the meeting to be open to the public, and the meeting is indeed open to the public. I don't see any breach of the law here, and I don't think this is a point of order.
I think it's discrimination.
Thank you. Councillor Jeffrey?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Did I hear you right? You did win the Dragon Boat. I've got a short report today. I think bearing in mind the last meeting went on for 4.5 hours, which was a marathon, so I think we're all going to be fairly tight today. At Cabinet yesterday, we were all of us really delighted to announce, really, in all the reports, £5 million of investment coming into the district for various things: adult education, cycling for children under 12, culture and art, our year of culture, £1 million from DCMS. Shows how much really the government, I know it's a Tory government, but the government do value this council, and we do very well out of funding. So £5 million of funding that we agreed at Cabinet yesterday, and I know some of my Cabinet colleagues might want to elaborate on their particular areas, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but it is really brilliant news that we got all that funding. Also at Cabinet, as most of you know, it was our ambition to build our own council housing. We haven't been able to do that yet, and we have a parcel of land at Farm Close in Fitzwilliam, and we found an owner, a partner there, who is going to build affordable homes for us, and it's really something that's needed. I know colleagues in that area will be really delighted that affordable homes, 100% on that side, will be delivered in the Hemsworth constituency, and I think that is really good news for the district. It isn't quite what we would have wanted ourselves as a controlling group, but it is a real good start. We've actually found a private sector developer who is willing to build 100% affordable homes. So I think that is something to celebrate. The other thing I want to raise is the RMT and the ticket office. Now, I know that David and Gwen's got a motion on, so I won't go into that, but we did have a public meeting last Thursday night, which was well attended. It wasn't just the usual union people or elected members, it was members of the public who really care about what is happening with the ticket situation. Vulnerable people are being penalised by, and it's not just the rail services, it's this government who are doing it. They could stop this in an instant if they wanted to, and they haven't. And people are vulnerable, that they can't all do it on apps, they just don't. So it's really quite a thing that they are doing, and we put an objection in as a council, and we're totally opposed to it. And I do hope when David and Gwen move their motion that everybody will support that motion. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Councillor Haynes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thanks for your opening comments. It's nice to see you have a big audience. I'll say welcome to you all. It's nice that people come along and see what we're actually doing here. We hope that there's no disturbance or anything. Coming on to comments that the leader has made, I'm very pleased that she's raised the subject of the land sale at Kinsley. I do welcome the approach to providing accommodation, rental accommodation, but I do have certain questions about that particular proposal regarding some of the conditions that have been placed up, but I have taken that up separately with the leader. I would just like to say, the other thing that you mentioned, I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to prepare. I didn't think I would. But yeah, can we just no, next. Sorry about this. I'll leave it at that. I've lost my train of thought.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Councillor Rackman.
Oh, sorry.
Please, thank you.
I'm pleased to hear the news on the ticket offices. That's positive that we're getting good feedback from the public. As far as I'm aware, that's something that central government is in charge of, and we're petitioning for that. But the level of hypocrisy is unreal. We have a bunch of taxi drivers here petitioning for things that we're in charge of, and we're blatantly ignoring them, ignoring giving them their restitution money, ignoring dealing with their older vehicles. All these things have been ignored, and all we hear time and time again is it's being worked on, but we have no time limit.
Thank you. Agenda item 7 is to consider Cabinet members' reports. Cabinet members have up to 5 minutes to present their report, and there are a further 15 minutes allocated to enable each Cabinet member to respond to any questions or brief comments on matters within the portfolio area. The first report is from Councillor Hemingway, Deputy Leader and Portfolio Holder of Climate Change and Environment. Councillor Hemingway, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In moving my report, I just want to draw members' attention to a couple of items. Firstly, on agenda page 15, I want to highlight the amazing display of bedding plants that's been put on in Thorns Park Formal Gardens. And this is a real collaborative project that's taking place, both the design, the arrangements and the planting with the CHAP Friends Group. It looks absolutely fantastic. There's some really good displays there, and work is continuing in the Friends Group as well on the master plan for Thorns Park, which will see the management plan, which will see it hopefully work towards green flag status in the not too distant future. Secondly, I just want to highlight to members a change in opening hours at the Wakefield Household Waste Recycling Centre. From Tuesday the 1st of August, the Centre on Demino Road will shift its late night opening from Fridays to 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, and this is because evidence has shown the take-up of the late night opening on a Friday. People have better things to do than taking the waste to the waste plant. It was poorly utilised, so we've now moved it to a midweek date in line with Glasshouser and South Kirby. So hopefully that will see high take-up. And then lastly, just to mention, as the leader said, Cabinet yesterday we agreed £2 million project for solar for schools, which 22 schools in the Wakefield district will have solar panels installed where they want them as part of the project to reduce carbon and also introduce an education programme for the children in those schools. So it's a fantastic project, and we're moving forward with our climate programme. So I'll leave it there, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hemingway. Are there any questions or brief comments on the report? Councillor Margaret Isherwood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make a comment on the schools climate relay as well, Jack. I think the solar for schools is absolutely brilliant. And also the children who actually took part in the relay are doing a wonderful job. We've got to remember that they are the ones that are going to inherit what we are leaving, and we should all be part of this climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since we have so many guests in the gallery, I just want to know whether Councillor Hannington can explain to our guests whether our agenda in terms of climate change will actually take into account of their work and trade and day by day. Thank you.
Absolutely. Sorry.
Sorry, Councillor Wayne.
Yeah, thank you. No, absolutely, and the key thing we want to ensure is that people who transition to electric vehicles be supported with that transition properly over a measured amount of time, and the discussions are ongoing with members of the trade about that and licensing, considering that, and ultimately that is a matter for licensing. It would be inappropriate for me as a politician to step on their toes and try and overrule them. We're all working towards net zero as a council by 2030 and as a wider district by 2038, and I think the taxi trade will play a key role in that.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Masterman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say how pleased I am that one of the areas I suggested for wildflower planting is looking really good. Newmarket Lane in our ward. I'd just like to stop the HGVs using that unsuitable road now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Masterman. Thank you, Councillor Murray. Next is the portfolio holder for children and young people. Councillor Ishwood, would you please introduce your report to Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In introducing my report, I just want to mention a big thank you to everybody who's helped in connecting in the WF Connect, donating their computers and across the district, so that we could provide 6,500 children with useful equipment that they didn't have available before. I'm also going to mention the graduation ceremony for the Imagination Library, which I attended along with Catherine, my deputy. Absolutely wonderful to see all these small children in their caps and gowns, and it's wonderful the work that's being done through the Imagination Library. And with that, I'll invite the board.
Thank you, Councillor Ishwood. Are there any questions or brief comments on the report? Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just want to say thank you for what has happened this afternoon. Actually, Councillor Ishwood has arranged a family hub overview by Joe Sefton, and it was a great session, and we need to know what's happening in the district. And I do encourage all the members, if they can, to attend this session. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that, Councillor Harvey. We are actually arranging to send all the slides out to all the members, and I think it's important that we'd like people to actually go and visit the hubs, because we have the Connect visits, and I'd urge people to actually go and visit over there and to see the sort of work that we do.
Thank you, Councillor Ishwood. We shall now move on to the portfolio holder for communities, poverty and health. Councillor Cummings, would you please introduce your report to Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In just moving my report, I just want to refer to agenda page 30 and the production of our second Community Safety Partnership newsletter, which outlines the fantastic work that we're doing with our partners across the district. And contained within that newsletter, we are highlighting Pride, and that we will have there a cake and stall, and I urge people to come along and join us and celebrate Pride together. With that, I move the report.
Thank you, Councillor Cummings. Are there any questions or brief comments on the report? Councillor Haynes.
Thank you, thanks for the report, Maureen. The closure of New Age care home and the withdrawal of services and support by Advinia, I think it is, West Riding care home, and the need to rehouse residents. Is this leading to a major problem for the provision of care for the elderly, that will impact on the sustainability of council finance?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, it is very sad that the owners of Avinia have decided to pull out of care for local authority clients. These are very vulnerable people. We are working with the families and the clients themselves into actually making sure that that move is clean and good, and they have the help and support that they need. The bigger question you're asking is something that I can't answer here. It's an ever-rolling programme with care. What we would like to do is to keep people at home with the care that they require at home, because people live longer, people living with conditions live longer if they've got family around them. It is something we're monitoring, and we can have a conversation outside this meeting about it.
Thank you, Councillor Cummins. Carol. I'll put my teeth in and I'll say it again. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's following on those lines, because whilst there's been home shutting there, there's been one shutting in my ward, there's been publicised in the calendar last week, where 22 residents have been given notice to quit with 6 weeks' notice. One of them is 103, who's lived there for 4 years. Now, Nicola Esmond and all the team I have absolute admiration for, because they're facing an uphill struggle, but they have assured me that they can find other places in other homes. But the difficulty is, of course, whether they will be local to where they'll live. That's why they've chosen to go into these care homes locally. And also, it's a matter of facing moving at that age of life can have a detrimental effect. It's something that we must keep our finger on the pulse of. I know that Betty and I will be raising this tomorrow with the overview and scrutiny, but at the end of the day, it needs to be radically reformed because the central movement, because there isn't enough money coming in to sustain these places, and the ones that's falling out at first are the ones that's funded by the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King. Councillor Cummins.
Yeah, can I come back in? The residents that you talk about, Matthew also made representation. Those residents won't be moved. They will remain where they are. I know that somebody at 103 years old is not going to move and be well at moving. So the decision has been taken to actually, I think there are up to 8 residents that will remain there. And they are the most vulnerable of the 22 that actually, Avina, I've given notice to, but we are working with the families, and I think you've had some information, and I'd like to commend Nicola Esmond and the team as well for what we're doing. It's sad, you know, that we people are being cared for in the private sector. I very much would like to look after them under the council's banner, but sadly the money's not available to do that. But be assured that those residents that you talk about will not be moved from that home.
Thank you, Councillor Cummins. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to support the comments that have been made by Nora, Councillor Cummins and by Councillor Booth. It is a very worrying situation, and the worry about it is that this is the second in a very short period of time. I have to wonder if this is the start of something that we don't want to happen. It's all, of course, down to the government in terms of what should have been their intention to actually produce the social care bill. That hasn't happened. It's been a wait of now nearly 5 years. 5 years. And the problem that we have is, yes, we want everybody who can stay in their own home to be in their own home. That's the right place to be. But where there isn't that available, then the other option has been residential care. Some years ago, members will remember that the government made a push and actually implemented through local authorities that we should set out to move out to the private sector 75% of our residential homes in the district. That had to happen. There was no doubt about it. And that was backed up by a lack of resources then to local governments, to Wakefield, to put other options in place. Other options in place obviously are the ability to provide our own bed spaces for our own people across the district. It's very sad. I've been through this a lot over the years in terms of closures of mental illness beds, care in the community, all the Tory government, and we're at it again, giving the least care to those most vulnerable in our society. I do hope and pray that sooner rather than later we are going to see an input of money into local authorities to provide the care at home, and that the budgets are looked at instead of being restricted to the high criteria that we have to apply at the moment. We do need people at home, and we do need to care for them in their own home, but that can only be done with the quality standards that Wakefield give, with a budget to resource it. And until we can do that, until this government actually, with the support I hope of Councillor Haynes and his colleagues, to press for this review of social care and the bill to be published and money to be put into it, then I'm afraid I hope this is not the beginning of a road that we're going to be talking about here over and over again. So I do support everything that we're going to try to do, and of course, as Councillor Hayes said, this will be coming as an urgent item at the Health Scrutiny Committee tomorrow. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Harvey. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I very gently remind Councillor Rose that the leader of the council just now in this chamber said this government, Tory government, does value this council. So please.
Councillor Harvey. That isn't a question.
But I don't believe that.
Councillor Harvey, please. I am being kind. And do you know that that isn't a question on the report? So please refrain. Thank you. The next report is Portfolio Hold for Culture, Leisure and Sport. Councillor Collins, could you please introduce your report to Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One restitution case, nothing's happened about it. What, let's go. We just raised time.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
We will please introduce your report to Council.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. So in my report I'm going to be very brief, and I'm just going to use it to highlight some of the abundance of family-friendly activities that we've got going on in the school holidays. They are upon us now, and I know we've got a whole month in which to figure out what to do with all the kids. So Experience Wakefield's got a summer highlights guide on there, which has got something free or very low cost for every single day of the holidays. So we just encourage members to push that to everybody in the communities. You can also download a copy of the Summer Planner, which is, like I said, it's got everything from the summer reading challenge to the museums and castles to the visitor attractions, to the seaside events, which I'm very excited to be welcoming to Southampton next month, and the summer school activities for Creative Mind. I think the summer schools that we've got going on this year are a really fantastic opportunity for all the children. Generally we find that they are more targeted towards young children with crafts, but we've got podcast sessions and something for the older children to do, so they're not getting bored for holidays. And with that, I will do my report.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Oh, sorry, what have been here? Are there any questions or brief comments on the portfolio holders report?
Councillor Heath.
Thank you. Yes, Madam Mayor, it's on this subject where we're talking in this report about swimming and activities taking place in public. West Yorkshire Fire Authority, Rescue Authority, with us, have been doing some excellent work, and Wakefield has been the lead area of this, with open swimming and the dangers of people going into water. But we know that more swimmers drown than non-swimmers, and so consequently what I would like to see these particularly at these events that are taking place is to promote that. I know the West Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Authority have been doing some good work, like I said, even going down with a plunge pool to show people the dangers of going into really cold water and the effects that it can have on you. And so it might be as well to working with them and get them invited to these things, because we must at this time of year, particularly in the summer months, people are more likely to take a dip in a pool if the weather improves from what it's been over the last few weeks. But I think we need to, something that we need to promote is swimming in open water. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. Councillor Farmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Page 37, it says library there, so just asking a question about library. Lossett Library has been cleared of asbestos, cleared some time ago. It's a major cost to Wakefield Council. Can you tell me when it's going to be advertised so we can get somebody in it or something to do with that library as soon as possible, because it's been unoccupied for over 5 to 6 years. Thank you, Madam.
Councillor, obviously, in relation to libraries, the libraries going into the town hall, and we're hopeful for that to be happening towards the back end of the year so we can get in there and start fitting out. In terms of the building of the old library, I think that's something that you might need to direct to Les, given that it's a corporate level building and it's not a library service anymore.
Thank you. Councillor Hayes.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Collins, the Aspire in Pontify is a success story. It's well supported. I've been asked one or two questions. The 3G pitch is being lifted and relaid, and people have been asking. The premises haven't been open very long. Was the repair done by the guarantee from the developer, or as people have been put to some extent?
The developer came out and looked at it and acknowledged that there was a defect in the pitch and has relayed it for us, so it's no cost to us.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So reading this report, Councillor Collins' report, just look at some headings. So number 1, page 1, Health Improvement School Scheme. And then we have a summer of creative learning activity for children and young people. Then we have Summer Reading Challenge 2023. So looking at these headings, I just wonder whether we have an overlap of the portfolio holders' work, because this to me is clearly the sphere of council issues remain. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey.
I think in any authority there's going to be an overlap between departments. It's who sort of delivers those projects, which is what we report on, and portfolios do work very closely together, because a lot of cultural and sport will overlap in the private sector as well. But whilst it might overlap, the work is not duplicated. It is very much sort of in conjunction with each department.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. The next portfolio holder on highways, Councillor Morley. Would you please introduce your report to Council?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, following up on last month's meeting when we had a very long debate, a very good debate as well, regarding buses, where we are with them, myself, Councillor Williams, Councillor Appleyard, I've had a series of meetings with officers. The Combined Authority are now in receipt of some additional funding that we have been advertised to the local press. BC Tranche 1, BC 1.5, Superbus, and another stream of funding as well. We're now making sure that Wakefield gets its fair share of that, to make sure the core service has been completely decimated over the last 3 to 4 years. We want to get the core service back. So hopefully over the summer months, the coming months, just say, we'll make some announcements of where these services will be reinstated. We're working then with combined authority, our future one looking forward over and start looking at secondary services as well. So I know it's something that means a lot to everybody across this district in this chamber. So with that, that's been my report. Answer any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marley. Are there any questions or brief comments on the report? Councillor Haynes.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Morley, thanks for the report. The section on watercourse maintenance. The River Went starts in Ward 6. It runs through Ward 1 and is the boundary in Ward 13. There are two water treatment works that discharge into this watercourse. One is, I think they're both in Ward 13. The point is, there is considerable blockage, large blockage from trees and vegetation in the section that runs through the Went Valley into Brockerdale Woods. I'm wondering if the money that you've been awarded, is the River Went going to be included in that contract?
I know it may not be an issue for Wakefield Council, it could be the Canals and Rivers Trust, it could be Yorkshire Water. So on our work programme, that hasn't been identified at the moment, but it's something I will take up with the team.
Thank you, Councillor Marley. Portfolio holder for regeneration and economic growth. Councillor Hepworth, would you please introduce the report to Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With Councillor Graham, I'd just like to move Council into part of Cabinet Council, however we would feel in, and we'll take any questions back to him.
Thank you, Councillor Hepworth. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Councillor Hardy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, the same point I want to make. Interestingly, we have a portfolio holder for regeneration and economic growth, but actually talking about the access of refugee and asylum seeker program. So I'd like to say that that probably again is Councillor Cummings' portfolio. So the team, but at least that in that report, it said that the team are learning from other areas such as South Yorkshire. So it's nice to hear other councillors arguing that lessons can be learned from what's happening in other successful towns and cities nearby to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Hepworth?
Thanks, Councillor Harvey. I refer back to what Councillor Collins said earlier, that we do work closely together with the departments, and I think it's remiss of us in this council as one department doing something successful that we don't take credit of it. And it just shows that in this council we are doing something successful, so it's showing that across Cabinet are following. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hepworth. The final Cabinet member report is that of the portfolio holder for resources and property. Councillor Shaw, can you please introduce your report to Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Introduce my report, I would just like to pick out a couple of points, key points. The electoral review, I think we had a Teams meeting a while ago which was really well attended by a lot of councillors who are here. And I'm sure they got a lot of information and they passed a lot of information back to the committee. And I think it was well received. However, what we're asking people to do now, there's a questionnaire that's outstanding. And I know that a number of people have already filled it in, but it is important that councillors do fill that questionnaire in and send it back, because that questionnaire will determine some of the ways forward. So it's a plea really for that to happen. The other point that I'd like to pull out of my report is the Anglers Country Park. I think what a fantastic thing that the visitor centre team at the Country Park have done. Certainly commissioning Beth Morgan to do the mural. I haven't been able to see it yet, but looking at the pictures here, I think it's fantastic. I certainly will be. So I'd like to say thank you for them. For bringing everybody's future up, I think it's fantastic. With that, I'm on my report.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Shaw, can you please turn the microphone on? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Councillor Haynes.
Thank you. Councillor Shaw, you mentioned the working party that you started on this review, and you bring in the report will come in October. It was explained to us that should this council decide on any electoral changes, as in changing the 3-year cycle, or if they were to decide, the working party were to decide on that, the review body cannot do that. It has to be a motion passed by this council. Will there be, should you be of a mind, or should the working party be of a mind to make any structural changes such as that, will there be time for a motion to be presented to the council?
If that's needed, there will be, but what I would say is there's a members' working group and members of all parties represented. I have to say, I would ask that certain parties get people to actually turn up to those meetings, because not everybody's turning up to those meetings, and then you'll get the feedback even before we make the sort of final decisions. But I will guarantee that we'll put as much communication out as we need to do.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. No petitions have been received in accordance with the Council procedure rules for today's meeting, so we shall move on to agenda item 9, which is questions on notice. One question has been received today from Councillor Harvey, full details of which are set out in the Council agenda. Councillor Shaw, would you please reply to the question? You just need, Councillor, you just need to answer the question to Councillor Harvey, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, simple reply, Councillor Harvey. There's no policies, procedures or procurement that will be in violation of that particular bill.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Council procedure rules entitle the questioner to one supplementary question, but it must arise directly out of the original question posed or the reply given. Councillor Harvey, as the question, do you have a supplementary question for Councillor Shaw?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So on the 5th of July, the government actually has passed a bill. It's called anti-boycott bill. On the 5th of July, with 468 votes for and 78 votes against. So I just wonder that all the rules and policies in the procurement and supply contract of this council will actually comply with the new bill. Thank you.
My information, Councillor, is that the bill is still not passed, and I understand the bill that you're particularly discussing prevents public bodies such as ourselves from being influenced by political or moral disapproval of foreign states when taking certain economic decisions. I'm glad I'm able to give you a straight answer, which I have done, Councillor Harvey. However, I must stress that colleagues in this chamber with me today, that the bill in question has received widespread criticism from members of Parliament, not only in our group, but right across in your particular group as well. It gives far-reaching power to the Secretary of State, continuing to ensure that Westminster bubble is all-powerful, undermining authority of the autonomy in which we require to work effectively. And I think we should know that.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. The final item for consideration is to deal with any motions. 2 motions will be considered. The first motion is from Councillor Harvey. Councillor Harvey, would you please move your motion to Council?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For far too long, poor road safety has plagued our community. Yorkshire is unfortunately one of the country's worst regions in this regard. According to Office of National Statistics data, Wakefield has had a higher rate of road incidents per 10,000 people of the population than nearby areas like Turkey, Barnsley and Sheffield. Many of the major traffic routes in and out of the city are notoriously dangerous. Wakefield sees an average of about 10 traffic accident fatalities each year and many hundreds of serious but non-fatal incidents. The overall number of road incidents itself has continued to rise year on year. It's been proven time and time again that one of the most effective ways to deter drivers from recklessness is the installation of permanent deployed road safety cameras. According to one study by London School of Economics, they reduced fatalities on any given road by 58 to 68% per year. National guidelines recommend that for a permanent speed camera to be installed, certain conditions should be met. It must be proven that at least 20% of drivers exceed the speed limit at a proposed site. Accident records also need to be showing that there is history of serious crash risk on that stretch of road. There must have been at least 3 collisions resulting in people killed or seriously injured per kilometre in the past 3 years. In line with this adoption of the Visual Zero strategy, West Yorkshire Combined Authority recently upgraded its own guideline on placement of both permanent and mobile road safety cameras. These changes, while certainly a step in the right direction towards a more proactive approach to road management at the local level, still require several cases of motorists or pedestrians being killed or seriously injured on a certain road to evidence the need for permanent deployed cameras. Madam Mayor, I strongly believe that part of the solution to tackling the right traffic violation is further localizing the power to determine where permanent deployed camera need to be placed. Mark Eastwood MP for Dewsbury is proposed a bill to Parliament which aims to do exactly that. He is putting forward the argument on a national level that parish councils, town councils, and other community groups are the ones who know exactly where the problems are, and for that, the threshold needs to be lowered so that they can use their judgment to keep residents safe. Residents in my ward, Wakefield Borough, are feeling badly let down by the local authority. Huddersfield Road in West Breton, Old Road in Middletown, Durker Lane and Hay Cross Road are amongst the city's worst speeding hotspots. Service data submitted to West Breton Parish Council in 2021 show that 50% of all vehicles on Huddersfield Road exceed the speed limit. Recently, the police also set up a temporary speed checkout in the same area, which led to just 10% of motorists driving too fast. So clearly, there is a strong case to be made for placing a permanent safety camera there. The persistent problems on this road have repeatedly been brought to the attention to the council, the highway department, and the local police force, yet the solution still hasn't been resolved. I've been told by councillors that other wards across the city have experienced similar such persistent road speed violation. Madam Mayor, I hope fellow members of this chamber today will agree with me. The council needs to set up a channel through which community groups can formally submit their request for new permanently deployed road safety cameras to be set up in the area that may know have a problem with speeding. Additionally, after such requests are made, it would be great to see the council putting in place a strict 6-month deadline for the safety surveys to be carried out. Finally, I do urge also all councillors to lend their support for our leaders to write to the Department of Transport, suggesting that they change the rules, and to the West Yorkshire Combined Authority, expressing the need to move forward with a coordinated plan. Let's take action today so that we can continue to work together towards a safer Wakefield. With this, Madam Mayor, I amend this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. Is the motion seconded? Councillor Hayes, in seconding the motion, do you wish to formally speak now, or reserve your right to speak until later in the debate?
I'll speak now.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to second this motion. This is one thing that I regularly receive phone calls about. It's raised at PAC meetings. In my case, the A639 in rural South Pontefract is a detrunked strategic route from Doncaster to Leeds, no longer maintained by Highways England. It's a winding, undulating carriageway with limited pedestrian footpath and uncontrolled vegetation, which is particularly noticeable at the road junctions leading onto country lanes. We are currently up to 4 deaths, 3 pedestrians and 1 lady motorist. You could probably add to that 30 dogs. They are family members to a lot of people. Without doubt, excessive speed is the main concern. This is currently more noticeable due to the daily congestion in Pontefract. Motorists, having spent up to 30 minutes queuing, become frustrated and drive more recklessly when leaving the irritation behind them, and keen to make up lost time when using the A639 going south, turning it into a bit of a racetrack. Local parish councillors have been ignored when submitting requests for safety measures. I am in no doubt that the deployment of speed cameras as a deterrent would be the only safety measure that could bring improvement to what is becoming an intolerable situation on top of an unsolvable congestion problem in Pontefract Ward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Councillor Morley has submitted an amendment to the motion. The amendment has been circulated to members prior to the meeting. Councillor Morley, would you please introduce your amendment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thank the opposition for fetching the original motion. Councillor Harvey taking such an interest in that. It does make me wonder where her thoughts lie where she's going with some of these things. She's been up against Council Chamber like a yo-yo today, so obviously there's some political game for herself in this. But I would like to remind members, though, of what she hasn't mentioned in her motion. Wakefield has already begun to adopt the principles of Vision Zero Road Strategy, and Cabinet agreed to adopt the principles in January of this year. So in the spirit of working together, I felt we need to amend the motion to ensure that it was stronger. Road safety is a key issue which I'm sure we all care about in this chamber. I just want to highlight, it's not the roads that are dangerous, but it's the minority of road users who commit one of the 5 fatal actions outlined in the amendment. I understand that actual deaths in relation to road collisions and accidents have decreased by 50% since 2012. This isn't to distract from the seriousness of the injuries that are caused by reckless drivers in the districts. One injury is too many, we all know that. So with that, I move the amendment. I urge all members to support the amendment, not the original motion supporting Councillor Harvey's ego. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Is the amendment seconded? Councillor Appleyard, do you wish to formally speak now or reserve your right to speak later in the debate?
Speak.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Like my colleague Councillor Morley has just stated, road safety is an issue that all of our residents care greatly about. Whether it's speeding or practising other forms of dangerous driving, such as drunk driving, drug driving, or using your mobile phone while driving. I want to make sure that we take a holistic approach when dealing with road safety rather than focusing on a singular issue. I'll be voting in favour of this amendment and formally second it.
Thank you, Councillor Appleyard. Does any member wish to speak on the amendment? Councillor Keith?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. As one of the councillors who some years ago was successful in a campaign to have some speed cameras installed on the A60 road through the ward that I shared with my colleagues from Stanley, we got those speed cameras through a concerted campaign that took place over a number of years. The reason why you have to have a number of fatalities before you can just start putting cameras
I'd like to thank Councillor Harvey for bringing this motion forward, but also Councillor Morley for doing the amendment, because I think the amendment improves it. I think focusing just solely on putting speed cameras in place and focusing just solely on speed being the factor of accidents, I think that's a mistake. As Councillor Morley pointed out in his amendment, there's a lot of factors that cause accidents. And it is the drivers that are at fault, and the drivers need to take responsibility. And I don't think the speed cameras on its own is just the answer, because people get to know where they are, they'll slow down for that camera, and then they'll speed up again. We've all seen this. So, yeah, I'll be supporting the amendment, because I think it's more wide-ranging and suitable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Forward.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, the original motion is too simplistic. I mean, the truth of it is I can get 5 times over the drink drive, and you drive down the road, bald tyres, no insurance, with your suspension wrecked, and that camera won't know unless I go over 30 miles an hour. And that's the issue, really. There needs to be more police on the roads, genuine, but of course they're not.
Thank you, Councillor Forward. Councillor Morley, let's move with the amendment. Do you wish to reply before we take the amendment to the vote? In exercising your right to reply, may I remind you that no matter can be introduced.
I just felt the contributions have been made, and the amendment is about the district. We don't start looking at particular wards. It has to be a district approach, and that's what we do on the side of the chamber line there. We look after the district, not after his own backyards.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. We will now take the amendment to the vote. To clarify this is to determine whether the amendment from Councillor Morley should become the new substantive motion. Please show all those in favour of the amendment.
Point of order here first.
I think that I should do the comment. Because I do need to have,
Turn your microphone off, Councillor. So, Madam Mayor, the council procedure rules are really clear about this. Councillor Harvey could have spoken on the amendment but didn't indicate, and now you've moved it to the vote. She doesn't have a right of reply at this stage, so I'm sorry, but the opportunity is gone.
Yeah. We'll move to the vote. All those in favour of the amendment?
Thank you.
Any against? Any abstentions? The amendment has now become the new substantive motion. So has done that. So it's now become the new substantive motion, and before... No, I've done that.
You've got to vote on it as a substantive motion, yeah?
Yeah, we're right, sorry about this, I'm just taking legal advice because I'm a bit rude. So, apologies. It's become the substantive motion, so let's take a vote on the substantive motion. So we will now take the final vote on the substantive motion. Please show all those in favour of the substantive motion. That is carried. Thank you. And thank you for your patience. The second motion is from Councillor Pickersgill. Would you please put your motion to Council?
Right, thank you, Madam Mayor. David Pickersgill, Council for Wakefield North, moving motion B from the Labour Group, opposing railway ticket office closures and opposing the Conservative amendment. The government and the railway companies announced just 3 weeks ago a plan to close over 1,000 railway ticket offices, including the one in my own how people with sensory impairments might contribute and to the impact of disabled people. The short period was why the motion was worded to endorse the actions of Councillor Jeffrey and the local members who have already put in objections, rather than the asking of the council put now an objection from today. My colleague, Councillor Page, will be addressing the social link for ticket officers, but I'd like to specifically address the case for Westgate. And in doing so, I'd like to welcome alongside a friend of mine, Nicola Dukes, who's known to a number of other people here in the public knowledge. Nicola works in the ticket office at Westgate and is the Transport Science Staffs Association steward there, and she's also a member of the TSA's National Executive. And I'd like to thank you, TSA colleagues and RMT colleagues, for the work that you've been doing on this campaign. Westgate is the largest station in West Yorkshire that is targeted for closure, and it's currently the only station with a staff ticket office in our district. It has over 2 million users every year. It's on neck and neck with Bradford Interchange, whose ticket office is due to stay open, as the third or fourth busiest station in West Yorkshire. Let's look at those figures. Over 2 million users per year. Over 1 million journeys starting there. If we take the consultation figure, that just about 12% of tickets are being bought from ticket offices these days, that's over 120,000 tickets per year. Between 300 and 500 tickets, I guess, on a typical day. And are those tickets the simple ones? I guess some will be, but many will be ones where people need advice, because either they've got access needs or they're infrequent travellers. Councillor Page will say more about disabled travellers, but I will stress that the massive ticketing options, varying off-peak periods and special offers do confuse infrequent travellers. They're probably confuse frequent ones as well. But if we are to encourage more people to use railways, which could bring great environmental benefits, we need simpler and cheaper fares, but we also need to keep the railways a service with a human face. And finally, regarding this part, I'd like to address the additional benefits of the ticket office at Westgate. It's got a good view across the station concourse, it acts as a deterrent to antisocial behaviour there, as well as being somewhere where police assistance could be called in safety if there are incidents. So while there's a social case to keep open every ticket office so that passengers can deal with a real person, there's a particularly strong case to keep open Wakefield Westgate. Turning to the Conservative amendment. While
Councillor Petersfield? Not yet. It's not being moved.
You can speak.
My apologies. Were people to come forward with a suggestion, welcome the rights of passengers.
Councillor Petersfield. You can speak on it later.
Okay. Right, I think...
And you've got 30 seconds left.
I've got 30 seconds left. Okay. I will seek to speak, take the right to reply before the amendment then chair. Yeah, I'll leave it.
Thank you, Councillor. Is the motion seconded? Councillor Page, do you seconding the motion? Do you wish to formally speak now or reserve your right to speak until later in the debate? Now, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to support this motion. Since this is our third proposal in the headline, many groups have put forward their arguments against these closures, and I've met with strong opposition in my own ward and beyond. In fact, one group couldn't get their pens out of their bags quick enough to fill in the card or the support back, and that was just at 1 o'clock in the morning, more things. And people have been full of praise for the wonderful start of the Westgate station. Comments heard as they discussed it amongst themselves was testimony to the high regard staff there are held in, especially those who have served there for many years, long enough for people to be on first name terms with
Only the other week, as I travelled to Castleford and Kirkgate, there were two elderly ladies struggling at the ticket machine. They were trying to register their Metro Senior Travel card for the half fare. They then struggled to understand how to make their card payment. Luckily, with my help, it was sorted just in time for us to catch the train. These are just a few examples. We heard many more at public meeting in the town hall last week. And that is why I ask this chamber to support this motion. Put people before profit. Stop this discrimination against the vulnerable in our society. And leave Wakefield Westgate ticket office open as it is, open and accessible. Madam Mayor, I second.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Councillor Haynes has submitted an amendment to the motion. The amendment has been circulated to members prior to the meeting. Councillor Haynes, would you please introduce your amendment?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Yes, I'm proposing this amendment to this motion. Come on, Councillor Pickersgill. Even Keir Starmer's wavering on this one, along with the majority of the travelling public. If you want to bring a motion on support for the railway union, that's okay. We'll vote against it. No problem. This is a smoke and mirrors attempt for us to vote against the closure of ticket offices. But I, for one, have already signed the online petition that's going to Parliament from the nationwide audience. I hope you'll do the same. There is no mention in the script of the petition to give unconditional support to any union. As far as I'm concerned, there is only one ticket office. But there's only one ticket office.
We've had a point of order. Can you just wait until we've had the point of order?
What Councillor Haynes is doing seems to be some sort of diatribe, not really pursuing what he's supposed to be pursuing, which was an amendment to the original motion.
In moving a motion or an amendment, it's possible within the time limit allowed for speeches to provide explanation. I don't see what.
Thank you. Councillor Haynes, would you like to continue?
Thank you. All I'd like to say is, as far as Wakefield is concerned, there's only one ticket office at Westgate Station, but large stations need them. To elderly travellers and infrequent travellers, getting advice is as important as getting a ticket. What I'm saying is, support this amendment and let's conclude the business.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Is the amendment seconded?
I second.
Councillor Swift, is it a point of order?
I haven't indicated to speak.
No? Okay, no problem. Councillor Keith, is it a point of order?
No, it's not a point of order. I was speaking against it.
Right, so we'll go to the seconding first. Is the amendment seconded? Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Do you wish to formally speak now or reserve your right to speak later in the debate?
I'll speak.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In seconding the amendment, Conservative groups seek to stand with the long-suffering rail passengers of our district who have faced strike-led chaos on our rail network for far too long. The Conservative group also opposes the closure of Wakefield Westgate ticket office. We stand shoulder to shoulder with the hard-pressed passengers. There have been many, many days of strikes where the rail network has not run for residents of this area. It's an intolerable situation for the passengers, and a speedy solution to this issue must be reached, and quickly. We appreciate and understand the hard work and dedication of everyone who works with and for the railways, but we implore everyone to get together around the table to settle this unpleasant dispute and to go to work, to visit friends.
to the motion that's been put today and is not relevant. It is ticket office is the relative discussion today, Madam Mayor. Yeah.
That's right, thank you, Councillor Rose. Councillor Hunt, please stick to the amendment.
Okay, so in closing this, I would like to support the amendment and once again state that we oppose the closure of the Wakefield Westgate ticket office. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Does any member wish to speak on the amendments? I've got Councillor Keith.
Yes, I'm speaking against the amendment. I think it's now time to do it. It's not going to be. That's okay. I think Councillor Lane's Freudian slip there going to show what this amendment is about. They're saying that they want to keep the ticket office open. We know that Wakefield has a very obvious position in that it's got rail connections to London, it's second only to Leeds and Doncaster. So it's not just for Wakefield, it's driving from around the area. But this is the thin end of a wedge. At the meeting that I attended with R&T people a week ago, we found out that what is also in the plans coming is to take away not just the man stations, but then to start calling them man stations again. And that means to say, if they send somebody on that station twice a week to empty the bins, they can call that a man station. They couldn't trust these people, they can't lay straight in bed. And these people are doing this because this government and the LNER and other people want to smash the R&T. That's the truth. I'm against it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Addressing the Conservative amendment, while I think on this side of the chamber we welcome a commitment to the rights of passengers who want to see a punctual, reliable and dependable rail service, it is the Conservative government that is trying to force through changes through the rail delivery group that will see reduced maintenance of the railway infrastructure and the removal of guards. That is what the ongoing rail strikes are about, passenger safety, and we're certainly not going to see our statement of support for R&T and TSSA colleagues removed, so we will be opposing the amendment. I'd also stress that a lot of the problems of reliability have been because of the failure of a privatised rail system, not training staff, trying to run with too few staff and too little rolling stock, not investing in the track and signalling. Look at the situation in the North West just a few months ago. One train an hour from Manchester to London. Many weeks to Manchester service are cancelled, but often cancelled the night before, so it doesn't count as a cancellation. How many of the privatising companies have handed in their contracts, leaving services operated by the government as an operator of last resort? And I'd like to make it clear, this will stop under local government. Louise Vegas, Shadow Secretary of State, made it clear that existing contracts will, when they come to an end, will be public operated. In conclusion, Madam Mayor, at this side of the chamber, we stand for public services that are accessible to everyone, including staff and officers.
Yeah, speaking on the amendment, I'm a bit disappointed really that the amendment completely removed the paragraph about supporting the trade unions. Because I don't believe it should be an either or. Why can't we support the unions and support the passengers? I think it would have been far better if the amendment was to insert that paragraph as an addition rather than removing the support from the unions. I don't understand why we have to have an either or. We can do both. But unfortunately, we are where we are, so I have to oppose the amendment. But what I'd say is that by supporting the unions, we are supporting the passengers as well. It's not
Thank you, Councillor Gates. Councillor Morley.
I was just in disbelief proposed and seconded. I mean, Councillor Hunt, congratulations on your maiden speech when you're only been here 15 years on and off. But it just shows you that the opposition group, the opposition quartet, I would call it now. I mean, absolutely unbelievable what you come out with here. They're completely detracted from what the main motion is about supporting ticket officers to go about strikes and anything else. Absolutely ridiculous. So I will not be voting, surprisingly, for your amendment. It just shows the intent of what the opposition group has become on this council.
Thank you, Councillor Morley. Councillor Hemingway.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Much of what I want to say has already been said very eloquently, including by Councillor Gert. I think this amendment is completely unnecessary. I think the opposition group are looking for an excuse not to vote for it, say they want to support it, but they can't because we're supporting the unions. The workers of the union, they're the same people fighting for safe railways, they're the same people fighting to keep the guard on the train that your government has tried to get rid of. And if we get rid and don't support those workers, who's going to deal with the queries that Councillor Page raised earlier? Who's going to support people with a disability around? Who's going to support people to get the cheapest tickets? I would advise you need to support this motion without equivocation, and that's why I'll be opposing your amendment and encourage you to support a substantive motion and show that opposition group, the Conservatives in this district, are on the side of the travelling public in Wakefield. So I completely reject your amendment. You should be supporting the workers who are fighting for our railways, and that's what we intend to do on this side of the chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Hemingway. Councillor Homewood.
A point of information, Madam Mayor, if I might, I listened to what Councillor Keith said. My objection was that he said, you know, can't lie straight in bed. It's not half of them can't lie straight, it's all of them. I've worked in Westminster, I've worked in Brussels, been there, seen it, wore the T-shirt.
So, in replying to Councillor Morley's comment about me standing up like a yo-yo and Councillor Hunt, the first maiden speech, because some of us in this chamber take our job seriously, because we're elected and we wanted to make sure that voice of the resident is heard. But however, I can tell you that I have worse. I was accused of manure stirring by one of yours. So, this is nothing to put us off. Okay, coming back to the motion. Let's think about why don't you go somewhere to find your sir, Councillor Hemingway, to answer him why even Mick Lynch has no faith in him. Okay? So you are delusional. Keir Starmer is not supporting the union, right? The union is having issues. Okay? It's not like Councillor Harvey, this is what he said. So Councillor Harvey, I am speaking, Councillor Harvey. I am speaking. Was that about the amendment? Is it about the amendment, or have you wrapped up?
It is the British Highway amendment. Because we cannot support the trade union outright.
Thank you.
There's no condition. That is a amendment.
The point's been made. Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Tully.
We're going to oppose the amendment and support the motion by Councillor Higginson. And my contribution is this, that we need to do our level best to retain ticket officers, whatever they are. Because smaller stations don't even happen, and people struggle on their stations as well. And last Friday, I wanted to take my grandson to Leeds, and I was running a bit late. I parked my car at Southampton Station. I was reversing into the train were pulling in. The train pulled in.
Councillor Tully. Councillor Tully.
Sorry, go on.
We're debating the amendment.
Well, the point I'm making is, all I will say to you is that if we're not careful and we don't support the retention of ticket officers, we'll find out moving forward without them, the authorities will be using no ticket officers to apply penalties to travellers rather than giving people the opportunity to buy tickets on a train. My £7 journey to Leeds last week with my grandson cost us £106 each from Southampton to Leeds, and I tried my level best to pay because we were given a penalty because we were accused of fare dodging. And all I'm saying is
Thank you. The only comment I've got to make is all we're asking for is the removal of the first clause of this motion, because as far as we're concerned, I think it's the travelling public that needs the support of the ticket company. If we were to come up with an alternative like a loaded ticket that you could buy in shops or somewhere like that, the whole point about it is that the travelling public needs protected. It's not easy to travel nowadays. You don't know whether trains are running or not, and that's not the cause of the government at this moment in time. So that's all I'd like to say. All I'm asking for is the removal of the first clause. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes. We will now take the amendment to the vote. To clarify, this is to determine whether the amendment from Councillor Hayes should become the new substantive motion. Please show all those in favour of the amendment. Please show all those in favour, against the amendment, sorry. So this is against the amendment. Thank you. Any abstentions? That's carried. No, it's not his fault. It's not again. See, we're here with the substantive amendment. So apologies, I'm having a bit of a rumble, but I'm taking legal advice, so it's going to go all good. So the amendment falls, and we now revert back to the original motion as set out in the agenda. Does any member wish to speak on the original motion? May I remind members that speeches must be directed to the question under discussion or to a personal explanation or a point of order. No speech may exceed 5 minutes. Councillor Keith.
I speak in support of this motion because in one of my incumbencies as a councillor, I served on the West Yorkshire Combined Authority for overuse country for transport and infrastructure, that's the title of it. And one of the things that we've been trying to do with these things is to get people to find an acceptable alternative to jumping in their car and transportation. We've been ploughing on and grinding on with the subject of getting effective, reliable, sustainable public transport. And what do these people come up with? Let's shut ticket offices. Let's make it harder for people to get in and out of the car and go and get on a train. It is already electrified. They have, like my colleague said, invested in rolling stock over the years. All of it will be electrified. And here's his busting his buns to get his cars all into electric. It's already there. And we try to get them onto these things, and what are we doing? We're fighting this cell. As we've already said, all the 3 major companies that run into Wakefield Westgate have handed back their responsibilities to run those rails. I would suggest that now is a good time to reinvent British Rail. Thank you, and I'm not supporting this motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Homewood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm speaking in favour of the motion because my late wife was a deaf sign language interpreter. That's what she did. And mother was deaf, and auntie was deaf, and quite a lot was deaf in her family. And so I kind of, she used to teach me deaf sign language and things like that. So I kind of, over the years, I learned a lot of things that deaf people struggle with. And, it's not easy for people who are deaf to turn up at somewhere like Westgate and use the machinery to necessarily, some people can, but it's not easy. It's much easier if they can write what they want on a piece of paper if need be and hand it to the ticket office guy. That you can't do that with a machine. And it's not just in the case of deaf people, it's in the case of lots of other people who are disabled. Wakefield is not, it's very easy to think Wakefield is just a through station on the way to Leeds, but it's not. When people come across from Huddersfield and elsewhere to get on trains to London and one thing and another. So it is an intersection, if you like. And so people come there from all over the place, and finding the best ticket offer isn't necessarily, it should be actually a legal requirement to offer the best ticket offer. But finding the best ticket offer isn't always easy, even for people like me, because I'm, you know, a bit thinner than that. And sometimes, and I think for that reason, you know, the state, there might be an argument for closing ticket offices in some stations, but Wakefield isn't one of them. And that's the issue, really. So what the government needs to decide, if they actually want a transport policy, then, you know, the best way to do it is to have nice cheap trains that are reliable, regular, and they've got people in. You can ask where you need to go and they give you a ticket for it. It's really simple. But they don't seem to want to do it.
Thank you, Councillor Norwood. Councillor Swift.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I too have been defeated by the ticket vending machines. I missed a train at Brighouse about 3 weeks ago when the machine defeated me as to what ticket I actually needed. And what we don't want is a future which is more like the current Wakefield Kirkgate than the current Wakefield Westgate. Now, when the people in the gallery who were, the taxi drivers earlier left, 2 or 3 of them shouted, "We've been too quiet." I think we, in this part of Yorkshire, have been far too quiet over the issue of station staffing and station ticket offices. We have, one of the things, interesting statistics that this current consultation, appalling though it is, has thrown up, has been the fact that the northwest of England has actually got 4 times as many ticket offices currently as Yorkshire. It's a bit bigger, it's not that much bigger, and what we're suffering from, and we should be aware of the fact we're starting from an appalling low base. You know, Councillor Pickersgill mentioned the fact that only 1 in 15 stations in Wakefield Net actually has a ticket office currently. And the campaigners in the northwest of England were commenting, having seen the respective submissions, that they had a much bigger job to do because they had a hell of a lot more ticket offices to start off with. And we do, the government and the Railway Development Group have made a big thing in the consultations of claiming that this is an improvement in service. Now, enough has been said by enough people to make it clear that it's anything but. Enough has been said that it's so tangled up with the issues of the government attack on the railway staff that it's nothing of the kind of an improvement. I think we should be looking for improvements. I think we should be looking for improvements at Westgate, e.g. the hours of staffing there. I think we should be looking for proper staffing, never mind ticket offices, but the two go together, at stations like Kirkgate and stations like Castleford. I think the progress needs to be made in exactly the opposite direction. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Swift. Councillor Medford.
I'd like to speak in favour of the motion, partly from personal experience and partly because of the cases I've come across as an advice worker. I've had many people come to me over the years who, as Councillor Tully seems to have been fined for not having a valid ticket and have been accused of fare dodging. Now, these are people who have genuinely tried to get a ticket. Normanton Station, where I'm a councillor, that has a ticket machine and not everyone can use it. Some people just don't know how to use it. Like myself, I have poor fine motor skills and I cannot use it because of my physical disabilities. And I've known people get on the train anyway, thinking they'll get help on the train or they'll be able to buy a ticket when they get to Leeds. But actually that's not been the case. Instead of being provided with a ticket, they've actually been issued with a fine. It's absolutely disgraceful. And I will say, as an additional point, the companies do need to look more leniently on that issue. If they are taking away the ticket officers, then they do need to be more understanding when people end up being fined. On another issue, at Normanton Station, I've been approached by an amputee who struggles actually
indicate?
No, sorry.
No. Councillor Jones?
Speaking in support of the motion, I had 3 occasions at Pontefract where we had to assist somebody. First lady, I think I was blind, she couldn't use the ticket machine and was scared to death she gets fined. I had to explain to the conductor on the train that she was blind and she couldn't get the ticket. Another one was at Tanshell at Pontefract. It's on the wrong side of the platform and a heavily pregnant woman didn't have time to run round onto the other platform to get a ticket. And another one was somebody with sensory issues. So I would support this motion in favour of those most vulnerable in our society.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Henry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, we've heard a lot of awful examples here where this has happened. I mean, just in my case, nowhere near as severe as those, but as a person who was potentially able to use a ticket machine a few weeks ago, I went to Wakefield. Both machines were broken and weren't functioning. Pressed the access point to try and speak to somebody, and the access point was broken, so I couldn't speak to anybody with access point. So it was impossible to purchase a ticket on the platform. Fortunately, there was a guard on the train that I spoke to who understood the situation. I took a photo of the broken ticket machines and he accepted I could pay normal fare in that situation. The other point I was going to make is, Madam Mayor, when we do proceed to a vote on this, I'd like to request a recorded vote, if that's okay, because I think it's important people know where we stand on this issue as we council.
Thank you, Councillor Henry. Councillor Williamson?
I think it's completely ludicrous that we're trying to close our ticket office in the entire district. Our railways are a service and they should be run as such. We shouldn't be putting up barriers, stopping people travelling, and we should be running a rail service accessible to everyone. I think let's be really clear, these closures are just redundancies by itself. It's just an attempt to cut the job positions so they can cut the staff so they can increase profits. And that's all it's about. That's all it's about. And this has been done at a time where we're cost of living crisis, where people are really dependent on the jobs, dependent on the income. And I think it's a shame that this has been done. We should be doing everything we can to support those workers in solving the dispute the unions have. Is how we solve the issue passengers are facing. It's not the fault of workers fighting to make the railways more accessible, to protect the jobs, to protect their income, to protect the conditions. It's the fault of this government. There's one simple way we can stop all this, right? And the government needs to stop the closures, start negotiating with the unions in good faith, right, and start investing in the railways properly, so we can all travel about, so we can all get about and know what it's about. And maybe the opposition parties should be using the lines of communication to the National Party and getting their national party to do just that.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Councillor Palmer?
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Am I allowed to speak?
You are.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just to let you know, it's a conscience vote for me, because I've been in the union, Farragate Union for 30 years. I was on strike with the Labour government, I was on strike with the Conservative government. I understand all the reasons that people give to striking, I understand it all. I understand the loss of money for people that strike. It's an horrendous situation. You know, I've got to vote with a conscience, so I'm going to support this motion, and I'll have to accept the consequences from the Conservative Party.
Councillor Petersfield, as mover of the motion, do you wish to reply before we take the motion to vote? In exercising your right of reply, may I remind you that no new matter can be introduced.
Well, I thought I'd exercised it when I spoke on the amendment, so I have nothing further to add.
Thank you. We've had a request for a recorded vote. Is that supported? supported by 4 other members. Okay? Please. Right, so I'll do it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll now read the councillors' names. If you could clearly indicate as usual whether you're voting for the motion, against the motion, whether you wish to abstain. I think I've made a recording of all those who are absent, but I may not quite have got it. So the first name then is Councillor Akbar. Thank you. Councillor Ali?
Support the original motion.
It is the original motion we're voting on, just for clarity for everybody. Councillor Appleyard? Councillor Eyre? Councillor Ayoub? Councillor Bates? Councillor Bryan? Councillor Carrington? Councillor Collins? Councillor Cummings? Councillor Farmer? Councillor Ferguson? Councillor Forster? Councillor Garbett? Councillor Gert? Councillor Haynes?
Abstain.
Councillor Harvey?
Abstain.
Councillor Hayes? Councillor Hemingway? Councillor Heptonstall? Councillor Heckler? Councillor Homewood?
I support the people of Wakefield. 4.
Councillor Hunt?
Abstain.
Councillor Graham Isherwood? Councillor Margaret Isherwood? Councillor Jeffrey? Councillor Jones? Councillor Keith? Councillor Khan? Councillor Kitchen? Is Councillor Law here? Thank you. Councillor Malkin? Councillor Massey? Councillor Masterman? Councillor Mayhew? Councillor Medford? Councillor Morley? Councillor Nichols? Councillor Page? Councillor Pickersgill? Councillor Rhodes? Is Councillor Rowley here? No. Councillor Scott? Councillor Shaw? Councillor Speak? Councillor Spates? Is Councillor Stockhill here? Councillor Swift? Councillor Tennant? Councillor Tennant King? Councillor Tully? Councillor Vickers? Councillor Wallace? Councillor Williamson? Madam Mayor, do you wish to vote? And Deputy Mayor, would you like to vote?
Yes, and yes.
Thank you. We'll just have that.
For 51, against, none, abstentions 3. That is carried. Colleagues, that was the last item on the agenda. To those colleagues who supported the Dragon Boat race, whether it be by donating prizes for the raffle or tombola prizes or anything, I would like to invite you back to the Mayor's Parlour just to say a small thank you. I enjoyed being there. So thank you all for your attendance, and I now declare the meeting closed.
Ladies and gentlemen, council members, please be upstanding whilst the mayoral party depart the council chamber.